number one question that I probably get asked on any of my videos is, how do you go about starting a fragrance collection? And it's a little bit tricky, and so this video is going to cover that. It's going to talk about seasonal fragrances and why you only wear colognes at certain times. It's going to talk about the difference and the concentrations of colognes, and then at the end we're going to basically pretend like I lost all of my fragrances, and I'm going to show you how to not only build a fragrance collection well, but also do it very, very affordably. Let's get going. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is where you buy these colognes. So no matter what the cologne is that you're looking for, you don't need to be buying these colognes at Ulta. You don't need to be buying these colognes at Belk or these places that will charge you a premium, Sephora. You need to be buying these colognes at discounters. You need to be buying these colognes at fragrancebuy.ca, buying these colognes at Perfume Empire or Forever Luxe. They are going to offer you an incredible discount, and when you get coupons and free shipping to boot, you're going to be able to save a lot more money. So get the same great fragrances. Just never buy these colognes unless you're at the discount rack. Never buy these colognes at a big brand store. The next tip that I have for you is avoid designer scents, designer fragrances. For instance, Bleu de Chanel is a great cologne, right? It makes good noises. Because that's why we get our fragrances, right, for the noises. Avoid the latest by Yves Saint Laurent. These are great fragrances. However, these are both over $300 for the pair. It is not an effective way to build your collection. You're going to see a little bit later as I go through the steps. You want to be able to at least initially go through and buy as many fragrances as you can and do so affordably before you have the luxury of being able to save for your next fragrance. So avoid these, and what that means is going with cheaper designer fragrances, maybe like Versace's Eros or Versace's The Dreamer or Versace's Blue Jeans. You can get designer fragrances for pretty cheap, but that also means explore the world of colognes. Colognes are phenomenal, and sometimes they outperform the original cologne that they're cloning. The third tip is I like getting a good deal, and with colognes it's no different. You can get a smaller cologne, or you can pretty much get twice as much cologne for just a moderate increase in the price. However, if you do that enough, you will limit your budget to buy other colognes. So that is why I have things like this. Jupe, almost 7 ounces. Never will I wear this. Never will I actually rock this cologne. And never will I ever drain this cologne. But because it was huge and I got a great deal, I bought it. Don't do that. What really woke me up was Al Haramain's, their Amber Oud line. It only comes in 2 ounce, and so normally I try to go the 3.4 ounce, but this came in 2 ounce, and look at this. I used to rock this guy all the time. There's hardly any missing. These things will last forever if you use them sparingly. Only apply a couple sprays every day before you get out, and get a cologne that lasts you a long time, and you can be good to go. So that's my third tip, is don't be afraid to buy the smaller sizes so you can use your budget to buy more colognes. My fourth tip is you need to understand the difference between the concentrations of colognes. The 3 different concentrations used to be that there was a lot of concentrations, but main line colognes, usually there's only 3. There's eau de toilette, there's eau de parfum, and then there's parfum. Traditionally, it used to be that the eau de toilette was the least of the concentration. Eau de parfum was a step up, and then parfum was the cream of the crop. What this meant was that there was more concentration of the oil in the alcohol, and in theory, what that should do is increase the longevity, increase the performance, and increase the scent profile of the particular fragrance. However, that is no longer the case. In fact, somebody somewhere, probably in the 90s, decided that we can have 3 different colognes under the same exact name and make these idiots go out and buy 3 different versions of the same cologne that are all different. So one thing that I want to stress to you, something that I absolutely despise in the fragrance world, is how you can have 3 colognes that are supposed to be the same thing, but they're not. And a really good example of this is the Acqua di Giu's. This is Acqua di Giu Pour Homme. This is gorgeous, gorgeous original scent. Over 20 notes in this guy, crazy. This is a Pour Homme Eau de Toilette, right? The cheapest of the cheap. Then you fast forward almost 40 years to the Eau de Parfum. Almost 40 years. It's actually kind of funny. The original designer of this, his son, made this. However, this particular scent profile was met with a lot of anger and hostility, and they totally changed up the note profile. This is over 20 notes, and this is like 8 notes, and they took away a couple of the really good notes. People were furious about this guy. And then of course you have the best version of it, which is the Profumo. This is the case where the Parfum or the Profumo was actually the best version, but in all 3 cases they are totally different scent profiles. Now, why does this matter? Because you need to understand which one do you want to get. If you talk about Azzaro's The Most Wanted, for instance, I think the Eau de Parfum is much better than the Parfum. I think Why Men Eau de Parfum much better than the Parfum. I think in Sauvage, the Eau de Parfum is much better than the Eau de Toilette. They're all different, and they're all different profiles. So make sure that if you go out and you're sampling these things, that you try all of them, because it's almost like they're totally different clones. And then my second little warning in the context of all of this is, don't fall into the trap of believing that an Eau de Parfum by default is better than the Eau de Toilette, or a Parfum is better than the Eau de Parfum. I have an example of this right now. This is the one by Dolce & Gabbana. The Eau de Parfum sucks on this one. The performance is non-existent. I don't even think that the fragrance makes it to your skin before it dissipates. This is the Eau de Toilette, and it actually performs much, much better. So you have some cases where the Eau de Toilette actually outperforms the Eau de Parfum. So you need to understand what the EDT, EDP, and Parfum are. And sometimes you might prefer an Eau de Parfum over a Parfum like me, because Eau de Parfum is less blended, it's rougher, and sometimes it's more pleasant because you can pick up those notes, whereas a Parfum might be so well blended that it's just one fragrance. Let's move on. My 5th and final overall tip is going to be avoid niche fragrances when you're getting into building your fragrance collection. You want to go with things that are tried and true. You don't want to go with niche fragrances like Baccarat, and you don't want to go with niche fragrances like my favorite niche fragrance, Brioni. You know, the Manceras, the Parfums de Marly's. The reason why is because these fragrances are very unique. They possess a very different note profile, and the problem with that, with it being unfamiliar to your nose, is kind of like the first time that I ever tried a cherry soda. It was disgusting. It's like an acquired taste. But a lot of times, if you're going to dislike a fragrance, it's going to be a niche fragrance, and niche fragrances are appreciated by the fragrance community, but not so much by everyday individuals. So if you have a wife or a girlfriend, you spray your niche fragrance, and they might be repulsed by it again, because it's different notes. It's things they're not used to smelling. It's things that they don't like. Maybe they have to warm up to it. I've had people tell me straight up, wearing this guy, that they don't like it. And if you're just getting started in fragrances, or you're trying to build your collection, not only are niche fragrances not a good idea based on the fact that they're a lot more expensive, but they might also be an acquired taste that repulse you and other people around you. So at least at the beginning, stay away from niche fragrances. Okay, so now we're going to talk about me personally. My Cologne collection got, well, it's flammable, right? Let's say it went up in a fire. Now I have to rebuild my collection. I get a lot of questions from, I don't know, maybe people just are just getting started and they don't have a large budget. High schoolers, I've gotten a couple of those. People who don't have a lot of money to blow on, let's face it, pointless scents. I mean, I love the community, I love fragrances, but in a lot of times, you know, how do you justify the amount of money that these things garner? You might have a fragrance that costs $400 and takes $7 to manufacture. That's a total scam. Anyways, that's a different video. So, my first challenge, starting a cologne collection. One cologne under $30 price point. Under $30. I don't feel like that's unobtainable. What I'm looking for, if I only have $30 to spend on a fragrance and I'm only going to get one right away, I'm looking for a signature scent. What a signature scent is it something that you don't smell on everybody else? It's a little bit unique, but it's also something that I can rock all year round. Maybe it's not fine-tuned to the hotter months or the colder months, but it's something that I can make work. So I'm going to give you two here, and I know it's a bit of a cop-out. I'm going to try to just limit it to one, but I wanted to bring one in. This, back when I got it, this is Bidet Oud, Honor and Glory, back when I first got this, by Lattafa. Back when I first got this, it was $22. Now it's like $35. So that's why this is not my number one pick. If this was under that, under $30, it would be this. But I can't. I'm doing this in the here and now. So that would have been it. But if you can get it under that, I still go with that. However, I gotta play by the rules here. And my pick is Al Haramain's Detour Noir. Detour Noir is around $25 to $27 right now. It's made by Al Haramain, and Detour Noir is a clone of Parfums de Marly's Leighton, which is a $200 plus cologne. It's gorgeous, fresh, sour, shower, fresh, clean. Actually, it is a little sour. You get a huge slap in the face with bergamot and a sweetness and a fruitiness, but as it mellows, it goes into a woodsiness, and it's musky, it's manly, and while it's not a fragrance that is made for winter or fall, it's also not a fragrance made for spring and summer. You can rock it all year round. So that is my first choice. If I just had one fragrance, it'd be a signature scent, and it would be Al Haramain's Detour Noir. Alright, the next category that I would have is buying 3 fragrances. So a signature scent, and then I would also have a fragrance for the cold months and the warm months. Now, why do you do that? Why is it season specific? Well, a couple reasons. I mean, we can break it down to a molecular level of whenever it's colder outside, it takes longer for the cologne to evaporate, and so the middle and the bottom notes get left behind. We could do that all day, but that's not really why. The reason, I mean, you can also say too that colognes are very specific to your body DNA, and some colognes just go really bad with sweat. Cremo spice and black vanilla, just it smells awful when you get sweaty, so you don't want to wear that in the summer. But realistically, what it comes down to is just being out of place. If you are in winter, you don't want to be wearing a fragrance that has aquatic notes. It's just weird. Conversely, you don't want to be wearing a boozy fragrance in the summer. It's going to make you seem like an alcoholic, and it's also going to be disgusting if you pair it with wool. And if you pair it with sweat, it's repugnant. So you want different fragrances that have different elements in them, and to be quite frankly, or to be quite honest, it's apparent when you have somebody who just has a fragrance that does not match with the season. It's disgusting. It just, you can't explain it. It just makes you want to barf. So anyways, that's why we choose different seasons. However, fall and winter does not really have a discernible break. You can get away with one fragrance for both those. And spring and summer, it's kind of the same way. It's a little bit more of an aquatic notes in the summer, but for this, we're just going to do 3 colognes. And I've already picked my first, right? Al Haramain's Du Tour Noir. This is $27, and I'm going to give myself the same amount. I'm going to give myself $90 in order to get a full collection. So let's first talk about my summer and spring. This one was actually the easiest pick of any fragrance that I've had. I have so much love and adoration for this fragrance. I would buy it again 100 times over. And it's Très Nuit by Armaf. Très Nuit by Armaf, a very strange looking bottle. I'll open the juices shit, and then it got a leather belt. So Très Nuit is a clone of Green Irish Tweed by Creed. It's gorgeous. It opens up with this super fresh fruity note. It's super woodsy. A little bit of patchouli sneaks back in there. You can tell that it's not musky, but it's woodsy and it's fresh, it's clean, it's like mossy almost. It has a really pleasant aroma, and this actually outperforms Green Irish Tweed. You pop this, boom, 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 3 sprays, and you're good for 8 hours. It's one of those fragrances you're gonna have to wash off of you. It's gonna stay on forever. This is phenomenal in the spring. It's phenomenal in the summer. Don't overuse it because it's easy to overuse. That's my pick for the spring and the summer. I believe you can get around $22, $23. It's an absolute steal for a 3.4 ounce. Next, my fall and my winter fragrance. And it's a lot harder to get a fall and a winter fragrance. You're looking for things like boozy notes. You're looking for things like tobacco. You're looking for things like iris, a little bit of that, a step away from fruitiness, a little bit more into deeper complexity, darkness, maybe darker fruits. And my fall and my winter fragrance is going to be Kamra by Lattafa. This is a clone of Angel Share by Killian. Lean back. Oh, there we go. So this is a super boozy fragrance. If you were to wear this in spring and summer, people would look at you like you have lost your absolute mind. This is a unisex. It's got some like sweet bourbon and some sweet vanilla notes. It's very spicy. You're gonna find that I mean, the whole thing, right? The whole thing looks like a canter, right? For Scotch. And this guy comes in at around 30, low 30s. Just a phenomenal fragrance. Again, a little feminine, but Pair this with some wool. Pair this with some colder weather. Pair this with winter. It's not divisive. That's the thing too. It's not divisive. It's boozy. It's vanilla. It's spicy, but it's also not going to be a divisive scent like you would get with tobacco and leather, where some people just really hate those specific scents. No one's gonna hate these. Now, how I would wear these specific fragrances, I would have my signature scent. If I was in fall going into winter, I would sub it out. Maybe daytime, and then put this on during the night, or just rotate with different days. And spring and summer, the same thing. I would put this on during the day, and maybe my signature scent during the night. So that's kind of how I would rotate it, so on and so forth. But that would be my next step, is you gotta make sure you have a seasonal cologne collection for spring, summer, and then fall, winter. Alright, now we're in our third tier, which is, quite frankly, you could have just 3 fragrances and you'll be fine all throughout the year. But, having those 3 fragrances and having those as your default and being able to rely on those, you can start freeing up some of your money to buy things as you wish. And one thing that I would definitely recommend doing is building up your evening wear colognes. So you're going to wear probably a different cologne going to the office, going to work, doing whatever you do during the day, and your evening stuff. So there's 2 colognes I really recommend for that I would pick up again, and one of them is Suits by Fragrance World. This is a cologne of YSL's Tuxedo. It's really nice. It's apparently has a really bad atomizer. It hits you right up front with some citrus, like a lemon, but then it sort of evolves. It's a little bit boozy, but it's not. It's really refined. It's really masculine, but it's also very sultry and very mature, very mature. It pairs really well with evening attire. And then the second one is Burberry Brit. Burberry Brit, and Burberry Brit is a phenomenal fragrance. Never pay more than $40 for it, though. I see some scalpers charging like $100. Crazy. Never pay more than that for it. So different from its cousin, Burberry cousin. Much better atomizer. And now you're getting some of the richness, you're getting some of the fruit in there, but you're also getting a suave woodiness and an oakiness and musk really ties in evening colognes. I would start building out my collection that way. I would also save up and buy some designer fragrances. For instance, Yves Saint Laurent myself, I already showed it. One of the best releases in the past few years. It's super simple. Whenever you first apply the top note, is just straight up fruit, straight up citrus, but as it sits, it matures and it gets really nice into sort of a rich, luxurious, confident individual. Salvatore Ferragamo Uomo Intense. Start getting into more niche fragrances like this, fragrances that are a little bit different, but not necessarily as divisive. And quite frankly, I don't recommend spending $300 for a niche fragrance. And then maybe start getting into some signature scents, other signature scents that you can swap out your signature scent. And for me, I would get something like Light Blue by Dolce & Gabbana. Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue. It's a classic. It's powdery. It's subtle. It's really powdery, a little sugary, a little sweet, a little sultry. Could go either way. Women seem to really enjoy this scent, so that would be sort of my tier 3. Now, if you have, all of those things, you have a couple designer fragrances, you have your signature scents and your seasonal fragrances, and you kind of are not 100% sure, where to go. My next category is going to be on layering fragrances. So I don't know why more people don't do this. I don't know why more people don't layer their fragrances, but they don't. But anyways, you can stand fragrance that accentuates it. And for me, those layered fragrances are always going to be fruity and sweet. So I'll put something on that's maybe boozy or heavy, and then I'll come in and spray something and layer it with something that's a little bit lighter and a little bit fruitier. And the two that I do this with is Sublime by, again, Lattafa B'day Al Oud. It is a gorgeous, oh my gosh, I love this fragrance. It is a gorgeous $22 fragrance that is pure apple, right off the bat, apple and spices, but that's all it is. It's very one-dimensional. That's one thing you want from a layered cologne that you're layering with something else. You want that cologne that you're layering the other one with to be simple. You don't want to put too many complex notes in there. It'll just mess up the whole thing. I love that fragrance. I also love this. I got some hate for this. I don't know why. I like this fragrance. Nitro Red. It's a beautiful, beautiful watermelon fragrance. Eau de Parfum. Hey, you know what? This is just my opinion, right? It's my opinion on everything, but I really enjoy this, and I use this as a layering fragrance. I never use this on its own. This is not a standalone fragrance for me. Neither is this guy, but I use it to layer. You can also use things like bitter peach or bright peach or any of the cherry fragrances, but that's going to be my tier 4 is layering and layered fragrances. So tier 5, wrapping it up. You already got everything else. You got everything from A to B, or A to D, I guess. And this is the last tier, and this tier is just in fragrances I wear around the house. So a lot of people, they don't even wear fragrances around the house. I love fragrances, and I want to be wearing them all the time. But obviously, I want some fragrances that are going to be more indicative of that relaxed environment, and are going to be more indicative of just hanging out. So, a couple different criteria, obviously, is that I don't want a real expensive fragrance, and this particular category is just going to be fragrances I enjoy, and one of those is my Cayad Alfresson, made by Lattafa. It is a raspberry and vanilla fragrance. It's really delightful. In fact, I could use this for layering, but I just spray it on a couple of times. It lasts a couple hours. It's really nice, like 18 bucks. Another one that I like to use is The Dreamer by Versace. I'm becoming nose blind. Another really good fragrance that's it's a little bit more sultry, a little bit more relaxed. Maybe spray it on more of a evening hanging around the house. $30. And it's just more of a relaxed, kind of a spicy fragrance that I wouldn't really wear either of these guys out. I just really enjoy the smell of them, and so I'll wear them just hanging around. But again, this is like boss tier. This is like you gotta be crazy and just really enjoy fragrances to just spray them when no one's around, and I do. And so this is my final tier. So there you go. It really irritates me when I see people that are totally turned off from the fragrance community and trying to improve their fragrance game and get into the community because of this notion that you have to be, have all this money to get into it. I just showed you all of those things, and if I take out the designer fragrances, I could have all those colognes for under $300. So it's not something that you have to have a lot of money for, and it's something I think everyone should aspire to smell better and enjoy the way that you smell. For me too, whenever I spray a certain fragrance, it takes me back, right? Scent is tied to memories, so it's very nostalgic. It's also, scent might have something that's relaxing, like lavender, and it calms me down. So that's how I would do it. That's how I would build my collection. And please do feel free to drop any questions. It's been great interacting with all of you. Look forward to the next one. Bye bye.